but if there was an election tomorrow, what would the breakdown be between the parties?
So I'm going to stick my neck out for you here, Tom, and I'm actually going to make a prediction for 26, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to stick my neck right out.
Got your bets in after this.
Plaid Cymru will be the biggest party, yeah? They have momentum. They have the most popular leader in Wales. He's a good media performer. They've improved their ground game. They've cleaned themselves up after some troublesome times. They have a relatively clear message. And I think they will get probably 30 seats, possibly even 30 plus seats. So they will be the largest party, and will come out of that, because of the way they're talking about it now, will be the winners. Because they're not saying that they're going to get 30 seats. They're not claiming that they're going to be the largest party. So they will be the winners. We have this added element now of, the surge in reform support in Wales. And I think however well Reform do in 26, they're going to be the nominal losers, because they've been saying that they're going to get 40 seats and be the party of government. Well, they're not. It's just not going to happen. I think they could get 20, 21, 22, unless they begin to fall apart. But, they've been working hard on professionalizing themselves and having a better turnout. And they've definitely understood the new system. The new system is not about targeting individual seats. These are giant constituencies, and all you need in a single constituency is 12% of the vote to get one seat. So if you get 12% of the vote in 16 constituencies, you've got your 16 seats as a baseline. And I think that is well within the reach of Reform, if they can get their vote out, because your most likely Reform voter is the person most likely to not bother to vote in a Senedd election, but vote in a general election. So, but I do think that they can get between 16 and 20. I think the traditional parties, both Tories and Labour, are going to lose badly. Labour are going to be hamstrung by their record, hamstrung by the fact that there's a Westminster government, which is going to be, it's going to be midterm blues anyway, and they're already incredibly unpopular. So they've got everything against them. Plus, internally, they're fighting like rats in a sack, and it's not a happy party in any way, shape, or form, and that's going to impact it. They're dropping like flies. Over a third of the sitting MSs are coming down, so they're going to go. As you know, I wrote a provocative piece winding up the Lib Dems and the Greens, saying that what they should do is create an alliance, and that's on a purely data-driven, pragmatic approach. That would give them a fighting chance of getting 12 to 16 seats. As things stand, I genuinely think that the Lib Dems could be wiped out in 26. They could well get 0 seats. I don't think they're understanding at all how the system has changed. I don't think they're getting that. And I don't think they're understanding either that even in their sort of heartland POIS, even there, because of the way things will break down, because you have 6 parties and the way things will break down, they could well get pushed out of the 6th seat, even there. So, and they do have some good campaigners. They do have some prospects, but, even in a best case scenario, 2 or 3 seats for them and potentially 0. I think we need to, I think they need to think very long and hard about that. Another surprise entrant, I think, is the Greens. I think the Greens will do far better than people might expect, partly because they have a realistic chance of having seats. So a vote for the Green Party isn't a wasted vote anymore. So a lot of people who would like to vote for the Green Party as a point of principle and haven't, because what's the point, can do so in this election with a realistic prospect that if the Greens can get up to 8, 9, 10% of the vote on a pan-Wales basis, they could pick up 5 to 8 seats. So I think there'll be a surprise coming into it. And that's more or less the way that I think the dice will fall at the moment. Obviously, a year is a long time in politics and a lot of things can change. But what that means is the result of this, there's 2 really interesting outcomes. In that 96-seat new Senedd, inevitably, more than half of the new MSs are going to be brand new. So it's going to be a very inexperienced and very different chamber, which is one thing. It will have members of Reform in it, and the experience of having members of UKIP as, not even as disruptors, but as wreckers, inexperienced wreckers, does not augur well for a smooth running of governance and government in Wales, in the Senedd, for the 26 to 30 term. And the other thing is it's going to be incredibly difficult to create a functioning government. I don't think we're going to be on Belgian levels of 18 months of haggling before a government is formed, but there is going to be an incredible challenge there. Labour will be very reluctant to be second fiddle to Plaid after being in power for 25 years. They also won't know how to react to losing for the first time. They'll be pulled one way by their MPs in Wales, which will be towards the centre of gravity in London. But the MSs may want to pull in a different direction, which is going to create rifts. And there probably won't be electoral mathematics that gives a majority easily in other ways. So it's going to be quite chaotic for a while after the election, I expect. So there you go, nail killers to the mast. On my current sort of, that's how I see things panning out at the moment.
And did you mention the Conservatives in there as well?
Yeah, they're going to do quite badly. I mean, for different reasons to Labour, but also some similar reasons, internal conflicts, issues, poor leadership. But for them as well, a lot of their support is being siphoned to Reform.
Okay.
So that's going to have an impact on them. Again, though, I mean, if they focus and get 12 to 14% across Wales, or in every constituency, they get 16 seats. The electoral mass for the kind of split that we have under this daunt system is absolutely fascinating. And no one is as far as I can tell, very few people are working through the implications, because the inertia of how elections have been fought for so long is so deeply ingrained in their internal party systems that they can't see how much things have changed. It isn't a factor for Reform, because Reform are coming in freshly and are just doing it.
Fresh eyes. And they have a lot more energy behind them, and a pretty young group of people supporting them too, right? In terms of the people that are working in Reform, I mean, it's quite a dynamic operation.
It is. They've got money and they're putting some structure together. They have some fundamental issues, though. The Welsh membership and support of Reform, people like Oliver Lewis, are really the left of centre social conservatives. But the leadership of Reform UK are not left of centre social conservatives. And Nigel Farage himself is potentially a huge weakness for Reform in Wales. I mean, Nigel Farage is a national populist conservative who believes in the privatisation of the NHS. He's an extreme libertarian. These are not things that appeal to the people who are saying that they will vote for him in Wales. They don't have a leader in Wales. They're going to go into the election without anybody as a front man. They're going to try and play on Nigel Farage, who is, on a UK-wide basis, the most popular politician in the UK, but only with a 28% approval rate. 62% still dislike him. He's the most popular person in an incredibly unpopular field. And in Wales, I would say that Rhyn ap Iorwerth is going to be more popular than Nigel Farage. I mean, the attack on Nigel Farage is so easy. He's not even Welsh. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about Wales. He wants to privatise the NHS. Who in Wales wants to privatise the NHS? And they can't dress that up. They can't hide it. And they can't hide. They might get away with it for 2026, but they cannot hide the fundamental policy and ideology gulfs between Reform UK. I mean, Reform UK really, in a constitutional basis, is all about a greater England. They're not interested in Wales and Scotland. That's their natural ideological position. Well, that's not going to sit well with a left of centre person and Welsh person in the valleys who identifies as a Welsh person, but is incredibly socially conservative and angry with the Labour Party and angry about everything. So the anger will carry them through maybe 26, but that's not going to keep you going. It's not going to give you deep roots and a real sort of focus and base in Wales.